Hey, folks, thanks for being here. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. And usually when I do my shows, if you're a regular listener, you kind of know this. We talk about things that are more common, I guess, when it comes to healthcare problems, nutrition, chiropractic care, pinched nerves, organs that aren't working properly. And today we're going to talk about an unlikely cause of your health problem. And you may be surprised when you find out what it is. It's more hazardous to your health than obesity or smoking. So I was kind of playing a little game here with Ahmad and Johnny today before I went on the air, and I said, "What do you think it is?" And they had some funny things I can't say on the air, and they said some other things. And I said, "What do you think?" And no one could come up with this. It was an interesting one. Loneliness. Estimated 42.6 million Americans over the age of 45 suffer from chronic loneliness. And census data reveals more than 25% of U.S. population lives alone. Now, living alone doesn't mean you're lonely. Doesn't mean you have social isolation. And there's two different things. We'll talk about that in a second. Loneliness is associated with higher blood pressure and higher risk of disease such as heart disease, stroke, dementia, depression, lower survival rates for breast cancer patients. Two recent what's called a meta-analysis. Now, if you ever see that word meta, M-E-T-A, analysis, what they do is who's ever doing the study looks at a bunch of other studies and says, okay, what's the commonality between these different studies? And they see what all the studies kind of conclude. So the meta-analysis revealed loneliness is more hazardous to your health than obesity, raising your risk of early death by nearly 50%. That compares with the risk of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So if you had somebody smoking 15 cigarettes a day, you would say, well, obviously we know where their problem is. You need to stop smoking. Not a secret. And yet, a lot of times, loneliness and social isolation is not something we can see. And we as doctors have a tough time diagnosing this one. And sometimes we have patients come in and we start to analyze it because no one comes in and says, oh, by the way, I'm very lonely. But we start to see it in the patient behavior. They'll show up very early for an appointment. Oh, I don't mind waiting. They'll sit and they'll even put other people ahead of them. No, I know I have a 10 o'clock appointment. You go ahead of me. You go ahead of me. What they're doing is they're subtly telling us, I just want to be around people. And then sometimes those patients will get in a room and just start talking, and not about their specific health issue, but just talking, because now suddenly they have human contact. So I want you to start thinking about this. If you know someone and you start to see some of these signs and symptoms, you might want to start noticing what can be done about it. And you can actually play doctor on this one. I'm going to let you play doctor on this one. I don't want you adjusting patients as a chiropractor. I don't want you diagnosing people or giving nutritional advice if you don't have a good background in it. But this one you can help me with, and you can help your friends with as well. And everybody benefits when we start dealing with these cases. Loneliness doesn't affect your mind only. It can cause a number of health problems. Research shows that loneliness can raise your blood pressure by 14 points, with greater increases the longer loneliness persists. I know some people say, listen, I'm quite happy to be alone. I'm married, I have kids, and it's just so wonderful for me to have 6 hours by myself. Oh my gosh, it's heaven. That's not loneliness. Loneliness is something that goes on and on for a while, and the longer it persists, the worse it gets. Now, with the rising of blood pressure, you raise your risk of heart disease and dementia as well, and that becomes a serious issue too. And if you ever knew some elderly people that have dementia, it's horrible. I know I just went to go see Jimmy Webb was in town. I didn't know who Jimmy Webb was. He wrote so many hit songs, and he was one of the big songwriters for Glenn Campbell, and so he talked about, being with Glenn Campbell. He wrote a bunch of other songs, Up, Up, and Away, and he was talking about Glenn Campbell, and he talked about Glenn in his later years when the mind started going. So I watched a documentary on it, and it really is horrible. I've dealt with patients with dementia before, and you almost start thinking that they're joking. They can't really be like this. But dementia is insidious. It's the long goodbye, as they say. And many times that's related to loneliness can do it, which will raise the blood pressure, which can cause the dementia, and also just being alone can cause the brain to malfunction. So it's really important that you look for these things in your family members and your friends, and they may put on a big face, a smiley face, and everything looks great on social media, but it's not. So start looking for these signs. Studies conclude social isolation and loneliness have more severe consequences, like I said, obesity and smoking. Recent research reveals that brain-related changes associated with feeling of loneliness start taking place in as little as 24 hours. The brain actually changes structure. Now, as a chiropractor, my job is to find out why the body is malfunctioning. So the place I always go to is the brain and the nervous system. That's my first thing that I look at with patients. Do you have pinched nerves? Are you chemically altering the function of your nerves? We know that if you have a high sugar diet, it increases your risk of dementia. So if you're eating like breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, the brain can only handle so much sugar. And so the brain processes the sugar, the glucose, the form of sugar the brain uses is glucose, and it processes as much as it can. And if it can't take any more, because what will happen is the sugar will kind of like gunk up your cells, and the cells won't work properly. And so what happens is the cells become resistant to insulin, allowing the cells to open up and take in more sugar. It creates insulin resistance. And in the body, insulin resistance is type 2 diabetes. In the brain, we call it type 3 diabetes. So many times the dementia and the loneliness can kind of go back and forth. Well, I'm not really socially able to handle situations anymore, so I'm not going to go out and do things. And why is that? Because the brain isn't functioning as well as it should because you have type 3 diabetes. The brain is not utilizing sugar, so you become more like a hermit, and now you start to cycle. So your health is a key here when it comes to you overcoming a lot of these problems, the loneliness, the brain malfunction, because if you're not putting the right nutrients into the body can't work. The brain needs 3 things to function. The brain needs oxygen, it needs to be excited, it needs to be exercised, and it needs to have proper nutrition. So if you give it oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition, the brain can work properly, and you're less likely to have a lot of these problems and less likely to withdraw from society. So exercise, of course, breathing properly, chiropractic care is great because it opens up the nerve and blood supply to the brain. If you have pinched nerves in the neck, you could be cutting off what's called the basivertebral artery, which is a blood supply to the brain. So if you have neck pain or back pain or headaches, you may be pinching nerves to the brain, cutting off the blood supply, preventing the brain from functioning properly. All right, folks, going to have to go to break. If you have a question, we're going to open up the lines. The number here is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Give us a call with any of your healthcare questions. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number 1 Dr. Joe in the world. We archive all our shows, too. So if you hear something you like, you can always catch it on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you could spend some time with me. We're talking today, surprising topic, actually. And when I started putting the show notes together for this, my notes, I said, I'm not sure how well this is going to go over. But apparently, it's extremely popular. I'm getting a lot of hits on Facebook. Oh, by the way, follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. I'm sorry, not on Twitter, on Instagram. And talking to the folks here in the studio, it's actually a pretty popular topic. And it's more hazardous to your health than obesity and smoking. And if you have this, it's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day as far as what it does to your health, and that's being alone. Loneliness. Now, I shouldn't say being alone. Loneliness and being alone are 2 different things. So loneliness and social isolation are oftentimes used interchangeably, but there's a big difference. Social isolation is defined as lack of contact with other individuals. You don't see, talk to, have any association or very little association with other people. Loneliness is the feeling that one is emotionally disconnected from others. Now, sometimes we might say that person is shy. It's kind of interesting. I had an intern come in the other day into my office, and she wanted to follow me around to my office. And I like when interns come in and follow around. And we have chiropractic interns, medical interns. They all come in and follow me around. It's kind of fun. And she English is her second language, and she said, I'm shy, and I don't speak very well to other people. And also, she had an accent. And I don't believe she had loneliness. I believe she was actually shy because she has family. She was telling me about her family and her son and everything like that. So I don't think that was the issue with her. But sometimes people say they're shy when in reality they don't know how to associate with other people. And that can lead to this condition where the chemistry of the brain changes when we don't have social interaction. We are what's called a gregarious being. We like to be around other people. And also, I was told this years ago when I was in school, and boy, has it ever been true in the past 30-plus years I've been in practice, is many people don't have any human contact, physical contact. So whether it's holding hands or whether it's somebody rubbing your back, they don't have any human physical contact. And when they come to our offices, and again, we're chiropractors, they really appreciate the fact that chiropractors touch their patients. Chiropractic, chiro means hand, and practic means to practice. It means done by hand. And so one of the therapies that we give unknowingly is we can actually touch someone. And when you touch someone, if you hug someone, they release, and you do too, you release chemicals in your brain. And these chemicals are the bonding hormones, like bonding neurotransmitters like oxytocin. Oxytocin is a bonding neurotransmitter. And so when you hug someone for any length of time, if you're holding hands with someone, these neurotransmitters increase in the body. And what happens is you actually become closer to that person and more connected to the person. And oxytocin is also released when a woman breastfeeds. So one of the many, 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 many reasons why I believe women should breastfeed is that the oxytocin is released and it bonds you to the child. Because if you've ever raised children, you know that there are times where you want to send them back, and you can't because there's no return policy on children. But the oxytocin is that neurotransmitter that even though you're going through rough times, you can survive it. And that's why it's really important in relationships that you do hold hands, that you do sit and at least your legs are touching. Because that physical contact is a chemical reaction in the brain that changes the dynamics of any relationship. So it's kind of neat. Let's go to the callers. We have some callers. If you have a question, give us a call. The number is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Is it Diana?
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Joe here. What can we do for you today?
Good.
Okay. Oh, you there? Nope. Oh, we're losing you. Okay. All right, what I'll do is I'll answer the question. Mod's giving me a signal there. We got a bad connection there. Okay. Well, the question was, what supplements do you give a 14-year-old child? I wouldn't say child, 14-year-old person. And that's a really good question. Because as a child is, early on, when a child is first born, of course, I would recommend that you do breastfeeding. And then people always come to me and say, well, what do I do now? You know, we're done breastfeeding. It's a year, 2 years, whatever it is. Or when you start getting into solid food, you can still breastfeed. What do we do? And then I say you introduce food one at a time. So you might mash up some sweet potatoes or bananas or avocados and just do one at a time to see if there's any reaction. See if the child has any reaction to it. That they break out in a rash, they get diaper rash, they start itching and get fussy because they may be having a reaction to it. At 14, essentially, the child is, going toward adulthood, and they need a lot of nutrients because they're still growing. Their brains are still growing, the nervous system is still growing, everything is growing. And this is a time, and if I ever become Grand Poobah of the universe, I'm going to make this a law, that the children need more nutrition. Not less, but more, but usually they're getting less. Because it's real easy to get a 14-year-old to eat junk food. It's not real easy to get a 14-year-old to eat nutritious food. So one of the things I recommend is Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Now, if you've never heard me talk about these, and if you've heard the show before, you know I talk about it a lot. There are two powders. They're on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Easy access to my website. There are two powders. I take it at least once a day. It's the minimum amount of nutrients the body needs to function normally. And I've said many times that in today's society, a child doesn't have to be smart anymore. They have to not be dumbed down. And so many times we dumb down our children because we're feeding them bad foods. It's easy. The schools, get me started. Kids do something good. Oh, that was wonderful. Here's candy. Here's a treat. It's Bobby's birthday. Let's bring in cupcakes. Let's have donuts. Never do you hear carrots being given as a treat. Never do you hear celery, broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, salad. That's never a treat. The treat is the junk food. It's cheap. And the reason it's cheap is because a lot of times it's government-subsidized high fructose corn syrup or soybeans. That's a whole nother lecture. Anyway, back to the question. Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, minimum amount of nutrients. And I think once a kid is able to start eating solid food, I think the parents should be giving these children this at least once a day. Now, if they're younger, you can give a half a scoop each, but at a 14-year-old, a scoop of each. Coconut milk, almond milk, shake it up, see if they'll drink it. If they're resistant, then add some frozen fruit to it, frozen bananas, blueberries. Sometimes the Super Greens, it's very rich. It's loaded with so many nutrients, and sometimes it tastes a little green. A little grassy might be. Not a lot, just very, very minor. But some people say I do better if I mix a frozen banana in there or something like that. So make up a smoothie with it. The nice part is very low in carbohydrates, loaded with nutrients. And once you start taking it, you're pretty much going to be blown away. Because after 2 or 3 days, you're going to start to say, wow, what a difference I feel. My brain is better. I'm going to the bathroom better. My inflammation, my pain is decreased. It has omega-3 fatty acids in it to help reduce inflammation. And people get real excited because finally they found something that's relatively inexpensive, really easy, tastes good. Why wouldn't you do it? And that's on the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Also available on Amazon, by the way, too. If you have an Amazon account, you can order it there, too. But I would say give it a month. If you give it a month and take it every day, it takes seconds to mix up. It's not a big deal. Do it every day for a month. Watch what happens. And I know how powerful it is because I take it. But if patients, for some reason, are out of town, they couldn't reorder it, and they'll go a week or two without it. They say, boy, do I see a difference. I'm back to where I was. I'm tired a lot. My brain is foggy. I don't have the energy I used to have. You know, people say all the time, Dr. Joe, how do you do your radio show? You get callers in. You have no idea what the question is. And I said, yeah. And they said, you always have an answer. And I don't have a team here. I'm by myself here. I got a mod on the board and Johnny taking your calls because my brain works well. And I do that because I take care of it with good nutrition. And, of course, chiropractic care opens up the nerve and blood supply. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, lines are open, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Again, my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We archive our radio shows there. You have questions, send them to me through the website. I'm more than happy to answer your healthcare questions. Again, it's drjoeesposito.com. Hey, folks, tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful day as always. Kind of got a little off topic, but off style maybe today. And we're talking about a condition that's more hazardous to your health than obesity and smoking. And if you have this condition, it's like smoking, as far as health risk goes, 15 cigarettes a day, and it can raise your risk of early death by as much as 50%. And what is that? Loneliness. And loneliness oftentimes is associated with other conditions. Maybe you're sickly and you don't get out as much as you used to. Maybe you're in pain. Of course, as a chiropractor, my team of doctors, we treat pain patients literally 7 days a week. So it could be that you're in pain. You're not able to go to work anymore. You're kind of isolated and locked in. It could be that you, because you have a condition, you're less likely to go out and socialize. Maybe you have blazing headaches and you don't like being around loud noise. Maybe you have horrible digestion, which is causing bad breath. I mean, I had a case like that a while ago, where the patient kind of became socially isolated because their stomach was pushed up against their diaphragm, and the stomach wasn't digesting proteins properly. So the protein essentially rotted in their gut, and it had that horrible bathroom smell. I'm trying to keep it nice here for family here, but you know the smell. And once we took the stomach and massaged the stomach down away from the diaphragm, the stomach started digesting food, the bowel started to work normally, and the bad breath went away. So we try to, I did the research on loneliness, and it's a big issue, but they don't talk about, they say, oh, go out and join groups or go to meetup.com or something like that, which I think is great. I have no problem with that. But many times there's underlying conditions that no one's addressing. And that's why this show is extremely popular among therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, because we look at things. I look at the body as a machine, and how do we get it lined up properly? How do we put the right chemicals in it to make it work, and how it affects the brain? And many times, and in fact, a lot of folks, I just said in the last segment I was on, follow me on Facebook, and I don't know how many people just started following us on Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram too. And they look at it and they say, well, we never thought about that before. We sit and talk to the patient, but we don't know how to actually treat the physical part, which then affects the mental and the emotional part. So many times if there's an emotional issue, there's a physical component. So there's neurotransmitters in the brain, neurotransmitters like dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. And if you're not producing dopamine properly, well, you don't get a lot of pleasure, so why would you want to go out and socialize? Well, it's not a lot of pleasure for me. It's not something I really want to do. And serotonin helps you focus. So if you're out in the world and it's so much input that you can't kind of sort through it, maybe a serotonin issue, that can be related to a digestive issue. You're not breaking your proteins into amino acids. The amino acids become neurotransmitters. Norepinephrine will give you energy. GABA suppresses neurotransmitters. Because if you didn't have GABA, all the neurotransmitters would be firing off at once. So the GABA is kind of like the gatekeeper and kind of keeps everything in control. But where do these neurotransmitters come from? They come from the raw material that you put in your body. So in our offices, when patients come in, I'll say, listen, we can give you the best chiropractic care in the world. Unpinched nerves, help with neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling. But you have to then help me by putting the raw materials in the body so that the body can assemble new nerve tissue, assemble new discs, assemble new joints of the bones so that it can heal. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results that you want. And that happens. Most of our patients listen to us. Some don't. And the ones that don't inevitably are not going to get the results that they want. It's not hard. It's easy. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, start producing neurotransmitters, get the brain working. If you have pain, realign the spine, get the pressure off the nerves, help with the pain, and then get you on some good nutrition. And good nutrition is so easy. Every day, patients come in our offices and say, why didn't I do this sooner? Dr. Joe, I didn't realize that eating a good diet was so much easier, so much cheaper, so much less work than anything I'm doing right now because you only know one thing. So we have to start looking at what's causing the social isolation or the loneliness and what we need to do to fix it. So it's comparable to the risk of premature death associated with obesity and other well-established risk factors for mortality, including the risks of smoking, and that's where the body, it has to heal. And you've got to get out and socialize so that the brain gets its stimulation. According to the American Osteopathic Association, it commissioned a Harris poll. Loneliness plays a role in chronic health conditions, including pain, drug and alcohol abuse, and depression. Recent studies have linked loneliness to an increase in risk of Alzheimer's, heart attack, and stroke. The lower survival rates for breast cancer patients are also associated with loneliness. Studies have also shown that people who are lonely are more likely to experience high levels of stress, poor sleep, increased inflammation, reduction in immune function, more likely to get sick, which then kind of puts you back in that cycle. I'm sick, I don't go out as much, my immune system gets weaker, and I get sick. Interesting story. I was at a party the other day. My friend Chris and her soon-to-be husband, I won't say their names on the air, and Chris may be listening. Hi, Chris, if you're listening. And we were talking, and she said when she first got into the singles arena of her life, she was very shy and didn't want to go out. And she went to one party, and she felt very uncomfortable. She left right away. And then she went to it. She said, I sat in my car outside. She said, I didn't want to go in because I was so shy. I didn't know anyone. So she said, I mustered up the energy. I went in, and I was waiting at the bar to get a drink. And some guys behind her bought her a drink. And she started talking with them. And one thing led to another. And here we are 16 years later. She's marrying one of the guys who's also a friend of mine. So sometimes you have to kind of go outside your comfort zone. In that case, she really did. She was very uncomfortable. She didn't want to go in. She said, I sat in my car. I just fought it. But you may have to get a little outside your comfort zone because you have to realize that the shyness and the loneliness, maybe you don't mind staying home alone every night and watching Netflix or whatever it is, but there's a health issue involved. So why is loneliness becoming an increasingly prevalent problem? According to researchers, this is our society. Long work hours, use of social media, suppressing your face-to-face interaction, frequent travel for work, living far away from family, delaying or foregoing marriage. So we are in a society where we're overworked, and in that situation, you think, well, you know what, I'm just going to go home tonight. It's no big deal. And the next night, you know what, I'm just going to go home tonight. It's no big deal. And you get stuck in a rut, caught in a trap, as Elvis once said. In light of growing population of seniors, rising prevalence of social isolation in general, we need to tackle it on an individual basis and society. So a couple of things that I'm seeing that I do like is that I'm seeing schools are teaching more social training skills, grammar schools and high schools, which I'm very happy with because we do have a situation. It's so much easier to text your friends, and I do it too. We used to call, now we just text, hey, what are you up to, blah, 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 back and forth, and so you're losing that one-on-one interaction. Training doctors to incorporate social connectedness, doing evaluations in their medical screenings, and that's what I try to teach my doctors as well. Look for signs. Is this person living by themselves? Is this person getting the proper health care that they need? Are they, if you live alone, well, I don't feel like eating. That's a big issue among seniors, but now it's among non-seniors. It's a lot easier to go home and open up a can of something or just grab, cheese and a glass of wine, and there's your dinner. And that starts to put you in that health crisis, that downward spiral that sometimes is really hard to get out of. So doctors need to be looking for this as well. Well, gosh, I talked to my patient, and she says, well, gosh, every night when I go home, I just have cheese and wine, and that's my dinner, and then I relax, and then I go to bed. Maybe there's a problem here. Maybe we need to start saying, how about a salad instead of the cheese? Or maybe give some recipes. If you don't know what to eat, folks, by the way, if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, my first book that I wrote is called Eating Right for the Health of It. That's a real good book, and that has lots of ideas on how to change your diet and recipes as well So it's a good guide. Anyway, got to go to a break. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. My website, if you want to get Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, my books, if you have questions, send them to me through the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Hey, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Tell your friends. I am so glad that you're here. Thanks for spending time with us today. I do appreciate that. I know everybody's busy. That's one of the things we're talking about today is a busy lifestyle, and I do appreciate that. If I don't say that enough, I mean it. So it humbles me when I get my emails, and I just said follow me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram, and just boom, everybody lights up. So it's very humbling. It's very nice. Thank you. And hopefully you're getting lots of good information, because that's my goal every time we get together is to give you information so that you can take control of your own health and you can naturally get well and stay well. So we're talking today about loneliness and social isolation and how that becomes a very serious health issue. And one of the things I find, and I see this as I get older and my friends get older and they start to go into retirement, is they're not ready for retirement. Seniors need to be advised and prepared for the social implications of retirement. A lot of adults have few social networks outside of the workplace. And suddenly they go home and they go, what do we do now? And that can lead to some real serious problems. It sounds like a good idea for the first week or two, but almost everyone I've ever met has come up with some type of issue when it comes to that. Friends of mine in the radio business, chiropractors that I know, medical doctors, just friends of mine outside the professions, and suddenly they're retired and going, gosh, it's 9 o'clock. Should I just stay in bed till 10? Yeah, why not? Should I stay in bed till 11? Yeah, why not? And that's a bad sign. You really have to be somewhere. I know George Burns, they talked about what was his secret to growing old. And he says, as long as I have a place to go, I'll be there. And that's a profound statement. As long as I have a place to go, I'll be there. If you have no place to go or no one to be with, why wake up? Why bother being around? So it's really important. So I'm going to talk about some strategies you can do to address the loneliness issues. Some are real obvious, but we're kind of putting a different spin on it today, how your health is going to affect your loneliness, and your loneliness can affect your health. Because if you're in pain, if you have bad digestion, if you blazing headaches, you're tired all the time. So many people come to me and say, Dr. Joe, I'm just exhausted. And you're exhausted because you're not doing anything many times. But a lot of times we burn out our adrenal glands. Now, the adrenal glands are two glands. They sit on either side. They sit on either kidney. They're about the size of a walnut. And when you dissect the adrenal gland open, when you cut it in half, it has 3 layers. And it produces adrenaline, which gives you energy. It produces prostaglandins, which moderate or mediate, I don't know if the right word is there, inflammation. It causes it and then it suppresses it. So if you have a condition where you need inflammation, your adrenal glands will pump out certain prostaglandins to raise the inflammation level. And then once the body starts to respond and is healthy, it lowers it. And so it can cause that. It also produces something called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone becomes a chemical called DHEA. DHEA, if you're functioning normally, becomes your sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. If you're under stress, it produces cortisol. Cortisol makes you fat. Cortisol makes you tired. Cortisol is the stress hormone that can really lead to other diseases. So when you're under stress and your body's pumping out a lot of cortisol, it's not producing your sex hormones. And when I talk about testosterone, for example, it's not just your romantic hormone. It's for muscles, your biceps, your triceps. But what about your heart? Your heart's a muscle. Your colon's a muscle. One of the things I find as people get older into their 40s and 50s is their bowel function isn't like it used to be. And one of the reasons is your bowels are a muscle. And all our muscles get weaker as we get older, so does the bowel. So sometimes we need a little extra help as we get older. And that's where it's so important to eat a plant-based diet, which has a lot of fiber. Also, you can do things like chia seeds. I do a lot of chia seeds. I probably take I've got a jar in my refrigerator, and I make tea, whatever tea it is. I don't do caffeinated tea, but herbal teas, licorice teas, whatever, peppermint teas. And I'll put in a couple of teaspoons or tablespoons of chia seeds. I'll just let them soak there, and they really swell up a lot. And when I open the refrigerator and I feel like a snack, and I shouldn't be eating, and I know that, I'll take a couple of sips of this chia tea, if you will, and that really fills me up. It just, you want something to just put in your mouth, and you put it in there, you chew it, you swallow it. Great for swelling up in the digestive system, cleaning everything out, exercising the muscles, a good source of omega-3 fatty acids, very inexpensive. So if you have a go-to snack, so to speak, you don't have to open a refrigerator and constantly eating junk food, because I don't know if you're like me, but I do that. But if I have something to go to, that works, and that helps keep my body healthy by keeping everything moving along. So chia seeds might be something you can do. I also have something called Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser, and this stuff's amazing. An intestinal cleanser gets the bowels moving as well. So in more severe cases, or if the bowels aren't moving 2 to 3 times a day, by the way, a day, not a week, you can take Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. And again, my supplements, the Super Greens, the Essential Source, the Intestinal Cleanser, we keep the prices relatively inexpensive, easy to take. I want to make it as simple as possible so you can't give me an excuse and say, well, Dr. Joe, the Super Greens, the Essential Source, I have to prepare something. No. You take a scoop of each, you put it in a jar, throw in some coconut milk, shake it up, and drink it, or almond milk, or whatever you're going to mix it with. You could do water if you wanted to. The pills are easy. Take it, put it in your mouth, swallow it. They're all plant-based. They're all vegan, so you can't say, well, Dr. Joe, I don't eat gelatin, and I don't want animal products. I've handled all that. I've addressed all your concerns. The only concern I can't address is you not doing it. But by taking Super Greens and Essential Source, you're getting the minimum amount of nutrients that you need. And when you do that, you feel better, so you're more likely to get out and less likely to be a hermit and lock yourself in. So it's vital that you keep your body healthy. You have to eat something raw at every meal. Now, when I say raw, broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, salad, something raw at every meal to give your body enzymes. Because enzymes break down inflammation, they help with digestion, they help heal the body. And when you're a kid, you produce a lot of enzymes. And as you get older, your enzyme levels plummet. That's called aging. And we can easily fight the aging by eating raw foods, taking things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're available on my website, drjoeesposito.com, and on Amazon if you have an Amazon account. So is the Intestinal Cleanser. So are my books. I try to make this as easy as possible. We archive hundreds of hours of radio shows. I think we may even have 1,000 hours by now on the website, no charge. We archive my videos. A lot of people watch the videos. Tens of thousands of people watch my videos over the years because they're visual learners. And instead of watching TV, you look at TV, there's nothing on, drjoeesposito.com. Go to my YouTube channel. It's under media. Watch the videos of my live lectures. Come out to the live lectures. They're a lot of fun. If you've never been to my live lectures, they are a blast. If you think the radio show is fun, it's even more fun there. And if you have questions, you can always send them to me through the website as well. And 844-44-Dr. Joe, by the way, is the number here at the studio. If you have a healthcare question, 844-44-DRJOE. And that number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. So a couple of things you can do, strategies for loneliness, and then we'll continue on with this topic. We're going to talk about things you can do if you have anxiety, which somebody just sent me an email, a message through Facebook. We're going to talk about anxiety and some anxiety busters. So 844-44-Dr. Joe, that's the phone number here. Give me a call if you have a question. And we can also go to my website with drjoeesposito.com. So a couple of things we're going to talk about as we continue on with this topic. A lot more to talk about. Strategies you need to address the loneliness, anxiety busters, things that you're doing every day that are actually making your anxiety and pain worse. Folks, got to go to break. Dr. Joe Esposito here. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, I am so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend a little time with me. And hopefully your reward for that is you're going to walk away with a lot of good information that you can use right now, today, to start getting well and keeping well. Not just for you, but for your friends and your family as well. And what we're talking about today is something that's more hazardous to your health than obesity and more hazardous than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And that would be loneliness and social isolation. Now, normally, if you're a regular listener to the show, we talk about, food and neurological issues. I'm a chiropractor. We talk about the brain and the spinal cord. But today, we'll kind of go in a little different direction here because this is an issue that people aren't addressing. It's there. No one knows what to do about it. And so often, it's because it could be a social issue. It could be that maybe you were married and your spouse died, or it could be that you retired, didn't prepare for retirement. It could be that you have a health issue. Maybe you have neck pain or back pain or loud noises you can't handle because of headaches, and you're not getting to the cause of that, and so you think, well, I'm just going to stay home tonight. No big deal. Well, that becomes a big deal because it leads to things like loneliness and social isolation, which then can increase your risk of heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and increase your risk of death by 50%. So if you're just sitting home every night thinking, well, it's no big deal, it could be a big deal. It absolutely could be. So, by the way, we archive all our radio shows. You can always go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and you can listen to shows. I've got a couple of questions I want to cover from Facebook. People send me questions on Facebook. Just follow me on Facebook, by the way. Follow me on Instagram. We send out lots of good information. If you go to my website and send me your email address and ask to be put on a newsletter list, we'll put you on a newsletter list. No charge. We don't send out a bunch of stuff, but little tips constantly going out, not constantly, every couple of days or weeks, real short, but you can read them and try to get yourself healthy when you're not listening to the shows. We videotape my live lectures. They're on my website as well. People love those videos. Oh, my gosh, they're so popular all over the world because people like they're visual learners. So a couple of things you can do, and then we're going to get to ways to bust anxiety, because anxiety can oftentimes lead to social isolation, which is the topic of our show today. And we got some callers, too. We're going to get to Natalie in just a second. If you have a question, give me a call. The number is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE, and that number rings through my offices when I'm not on the air. All right, a couple of strategies you can do to address it if you're loneliness. Join a club. Proactive approaches are really good. Meetup.com is one. I'm a vegetarian, I'm a vegan, and so every day in my Facebook and in my emails, I get there's something happening. And I physically don't have the time to do everything. Even if I wasn't working, I probably couldn't do all the events that are going on. So find something you're interested in. Maybe I'm Italian. I could join Italian American Club. I'm from New Jersey. Maybe there's a New Jersey group somewhere. Maybe you want to learn how to cook. Maybe you want to go to meetings. I know recently I went to the Jimmy Carter Library in Atlanta, and some great speakers were there. So you can find out where speakers are and find out what you can do, and just go by yourself. If you don't know what to do, go and listen to a speaker. That's kind of a neat thing to do by yourself, and then you'll probably meet people as well. Learn a new skill. Like I said, start taking some classes. Create a rituals connection. What that means, having weekly talk sessions with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your friends. Have a ritual. Every Tuesday night is girls' night out or boys' night out or whatever it is. Consider a digital cleanse. Now, this is a biggie because this is something that's happening among especially the younger generation, is sometimes you got to log out of your social media for a day or two and actually then start to talk to people one-on-one. What a concept, I knew. It's not a bad idea. Start to exercise with others. If you just go to a gym by yourself, that's something you can do by yourself, and you're going to bump into people. You're going to start conversations with people. And it's just something to do. And even if you don't know anyone, that's kind of a safe place to go, kind of like going to lectures. Come to my lectures, by the way. My lectures are great, and everybody there is really friendly. If you go to my website, you'll see my lecture schedule. And come on out. They're a blast. And just come by yourself. It's fine. Even when you go shopping, my mother, I know one of her big things was she talked to people about oranges. Or how do you pick out the right broccoli? Or how do you cook those foods? I never saw anybody make those before. And so that's a way to start conversations as well. Kind of talking to strangers. And that's something that might be good. And then, of course, volunteering is always a good way to get out and find something you're passionate about, whether it's animal rights or if it's taking care of babies. Volunteering is a great way to do it because you go by yourself anyway. All right, let's go to Natalie, then I'll answer some questions from Facebook. Natalie, how can we make your day better?
Hey, I was just calling because you were talking on this segment about brain issues, emotional issues, and I have a situation where the teachers try to explain to me every single year that my son has ADD, and I insist that I will not, under any circumstance, put him on drugs.
Good for you.
As a child. And I don't know what to do at this point. He's failing essentially everything, and I've tried everything I can think of, and I don't know what to do.
So if I can tell you what to do about it, I'll become your new best friend?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here we
go.
Here we go, bestie. Let me tell you what to do about it. Number one article on my website that's downloaded is on gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD. The number two article downloaded and read is on ADD. And the article title is ADD, It's Not a Ritalin Deficiency. It's not that we need more Ritalin in our diet. The way the body works is your brain needs neurotransmitters. And with ADD patients, it's usually a serotonin issue. So your stomach's job is to take proteins, anything your son eats, you eat, break the proteins into amino acids. The amino acid tryptophan combines with vitamin B6, creates a chemical called 5-HTP. 5-HTP becomes serotonin. A lot of chemistry there. Don't get lost in it. Serotonin becomes melatonin, so chances are your son has trouble sleeping as well. And that's usually something that happens with ADD patients. So if you, about your son, I know nothing about you or your son, chances are he has really stinky stools. He probably passes gas a lot. And he's also very ticklish. He's very ticklish, especially around his midsection.
Okay.
Did I read his diary? Do I know all about your son now?
Some of it.
Okay. And the reason you're ticklish around the midsection is you're protecting your digestive system, because the digestive system is where the nutrients are absorbed. The problem with serotonin is 95% of the serotonin in your body is not used in your brain. It's used in your digestive system. And the digestive system is where the problem is. So we got to fix his digestive system. So go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, read the article on ADD and on GERD, because the GERD is the thing that causes the neurotransmitters not being produced.
Okay.
That's going to answer a lot of your questions. Get them on Dr. Joe's Super Greens. Get them on Dr. Joe's Essential Source. If you won't drink it with just like coconut milk or almond milk, mix it in with a frozen banana. And get the nutrients, the raw materials in his body to get working. And then you got to get him exercising. You got to get him moving, because when the body moves, it reboots the brain.
He's pretty active.
Good.
I'm only concerned because I don't see any indication that he would have GERD, and he's a child.
That's okay. Doesn't matter.
He's so young to have issues.
Sure. Babies have colic all the time, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Read the articles. I think you'll be blown away. And I've treated thousands and thousands of ADD patients, myself, by the way, being one of them. And once you fix the digestive system, all that crazy energy becomes super laser focused, and he can then do radio shows.
Yay. Thank you.
All right, let me know how it goes, Natalie. Folks, got to go to break. My website, drjoeesposito.com. The number here at the studio, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. If you have a question, that number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Lots of good questions coming in on Facebook as well. If you have questions, follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. If you want to get Super Greens, Essential Source, and other products, drjoeesposito.com, and also on Amazon. All right, going to be right back. Tell your friends about the show. Going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. We're talking about something that's worse than heart disease or smoking for your health. Imagine something worse than that. And that would be loneliness and social isolation, because it changes your brain function. When you don't have social interaction, that's a big issue. And also physical contact. Now, I'm not saying you have to get, romantic with someone, but even just being around other people, shaking their hands, touching them, very important. And that's why if you're with people who you think might have these issues, especially family members who you feel safe with, hold their hand when you talk to them. Something as simple as holding somebody's hand changes the chemistry in their brain. It changes the neurotransmitters. And there's things called genetics, and we all know what that is. If you have a genetic issue, it means that you have a genetic predisposition to having a problem. But there's also something called epigenetics. And epigenetics are how external forces make your genes express whatever they do. So, for example, I might have a genetic predisposition to, Alzheimer's. I'm making this up. I don't have that. However, but if I do all the things I can outside the genetics, the epigenetics now have a direct impact on my health, probably more so than my genetics. So, for example, if you come from a family of many people that have had cancer, doesn't mean you have to have cancer, because you can influence your health with epigenetics outside. And so something as simple as holding somebody's hand changes the biochemistry. And it's a great book. If you've never read it, it's called 5 Languages of Love. Wonderful book. If you get CDs, that's fine. And everybody has a different trigger, the main thing that drives them. So if I can remember the 5 languages now, it's touch, gifts, acts of service, quality time, and words of affirmation. All right, we got it there. Good brain. And so different people's bodies respond differently. So, for example, I'm not a big gift guy. Gifts don't mean a whole lot to me. So people give me gifts, and I like it. Don't get me wrong. I love getting gifts, but it's not the thing that's really going to work to get me excited. Some people, it's touch. So if you have somebody in your family and they want to always hold your hand or be around you physically, that's the thing that gets the person who wrote it fills up their love tank. Maybe it's quality time. If I know somebody who really, I keep bringing them gifts, and my love language is gift, and I'm thinking, well, why doesn't this person like the gifts I'm bringing them? They love the gifts, but what they really want is time with you. And many times that's a big one with seniors. Quality time becomes their love language. They just want you to be around them. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there and watch TV. These things can change. It's epigenetics can now change the way the brain works and can actually heal the body, which is kind of cool. I got a message on Facebook here. I won't mention the person's name. A lot of anxiety, bad diet, medications, pain, and the anxiety is the thing. He didn't want to come on the air. He just sent me a message saying he didn't want to come on the air because he's so anxious. And so the diet is going to be a key for this person. And I won't use your name, but I assume you're listening. The diet is going to be the key because the brain needs the raw materials to produce the neurotransmitters to make your body work. You have to have the good nutrition. And so many times when we're depressed, if we're lonely, if we're anxious, we go to those what they call comfort foods. There's no such thing as a good comfort food as far as I know. Most comfort foods are things like, meats with gravies and heavy, rich stews and sauces and cookies and cakes and donuts. And you don't have broccoli as a comfort food. And so you just have to say, listen, every meal I'm going to have something raw. I'm going to have a raw vegetable at every meal. And one meal a day, I'm going to have a totally raw meal, a totally vegetable meal. How about that? I'll be a little easier on you. Everything vegetables. No breads, no cookies, no cakes, no donuts, all vegetables. Seasonings are fine, but just vegetables. And just by doing something as simple as that is going to change the biochemistry of your body. At least take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. That's the absolute minimum that everyone should be doing from a nutritional standpoint every single day. They're 2 powders. They taste very good. They're relatively inexpensive. And once you take it for a couple of days, you'll be blown away with the results, as most people are. Hopefully, you'll be one of those people. And just works great. I love it. Most people love it. Very seldom do I have somebody complain about it. So it's really good stuff. The only issue I had is that people that are really sick, I may have to cut down their dose a little bit because it's too much nutrition at once and the body goes into a detoxification. And they might feel a little queasy or because the body's cleaning itself out really fast. But that's only in severe cases. They just cut back to half a dose and then build up from there. Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. The bowels have to be moving 2 to 3 times a day. They have to. If they're not, then you need a little help. And that's where Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser comes in, which is great. And you've got to deal with the anxiety, the things that may be causing it. Anxiety can cause heart palpitations, dry mouth, sweaty palms, inability to deal with society, unexplained anger, outbursts. There's milder versions, of course, but it can affect your career. It can affect your relationships. It can create the quality of your life. It can affect the quality of your life. So we want to get to the cause of the problem, just like as a chiropractor, if you have neck pain or back pain or shoulder pain, we want to find out what's causing it. Is it a pinched nerve? Is it a muscle spasm? Is it acid reflux? Is your stomach pushing up against your diaphragm and you're having acid reflux and burping and gas? So we want to get to the cause of the problem physically, then you take care of it chemically, and now the body has the ability to heal. So many people don't even have the ability to heal. I want to get better, and I can't because you don't. The car needs to be tuned up in order to race properly. Your body needs to be tuned up in order to function properly. So a couple of things you can do to get rid of the anxiety, and these are important. Number one, you got to get rid of caffeine. Not sure where to start? Let's start there. Begin by lowering your caffeine load. Small amounts of caffeine can give you some antioxidants and help you improve focus. I've seen those studies. But more than 4 ounces of caffeine daily can trigger anxiety and disrupt sleep. Caffeine stays in your body. It has a half-life of 12 hours, which means half of the caffeine is going to be in your body 12 hours after you take it. I can't do even a little bit of caffeine. I get a blazing headache. Now, if you want to have a cup of coffee, I think it should be in the morning. But I think switching to herbal teas or decaffeinated coffee is better. There's no such thing as decaffeinated coffee, by the way. It's regular coffee that has some of the caffeine taken out. So decaffeinated still is going to have caffeine. And if you're going to do coffee, if you've ever heard my lecture on the 7 deadly sins of nutrition, coffee is one of them. So if you're going to do coffee, I beg you, please, organic only. Coffee is one of the most highly sprayed foods there is with chemicals and pesticides, and we definitely want you off those chemicals and pesticides, which can affect the brain, which can lead to loneliness and depression because you're not getting out of the house because the brain isn't working properly. So coffee, at least organic only. Organic decaf, better choice. And then you can go to something called mate tea, M-A-T-E, or matein. Mate tea has less caffeine than coffee, but more caffeine than tea. So it's kind of a step down. And then go to black tea, then green tea, and then hopefully get you off the caffeine altogether because that caffeine can create anxiety. You have to drink enough water. If you're not drinking 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, I think you should. Folks, going to have to go to a break. If you have a healthcare question, give me a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, archive radio shows, lots of good information, order products and supplements, send me questions, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Tell your friends about the show. I am so glad that you're here today. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're talking today about something that's more hazardous to your health than obesity and smoking, and that is loneliness and social isolation. Now, loneliness is, even though you may be around people, you feel like you're disconnected from people. And then social isolation is when you're not around people. And both of them are bad. Both of them have a lot of consequences, and not just the psychological, but the physical. things that happen when we don't have social interaction. And many times people rely on their workplace because that's their social interaction. That's their circle of friends. That's the people they go out with. That's the people they see every day. And if something happens, they lose their job, they retire, company goes out of business, now we got a problem because you kind of put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And so it's really important that you do start to look for other ways to have social interaction with people. And if you're shy, this is a little trick that I've learned a while ago, and I use this because surprisingly, we can talk, we're friends here, right? We can talk. I'm not very social. I'm not a good conversationalist. On radio, I am. When I'm with patients, I am. And even Ahmad's looking at me with a funny face there. I'm not, Ahmad. I'm not. I'm not somebody who's good at parties.
I would have. And speaking of parties, I mean, I see you every year at the Christmas party. You're always out there mingling and everything.
And you don't. I'm going to teach you my trick now.
Okay.
Here's my trick. 3 questions. Whenever you meet somebody and you don't know what to talk about, ask them 3 questions. Because what do people like to talk about? What's anyone's favorite conversation? Themselves, exactly. So ask them 3 questions, and that they will open up to you. They will think you're the coolest person at the party because you can then socialize and you have a way to, a way in. And once they start talking about themselves, they're going to think you're the coolest person around. So my little dating advice as well there, okay?
See, I think I already do that unknowingly.
You are very good. I've watched you, and you're very, very good at that anyway.
Thanks.
So there we go. So Ahmad's got the gift. And, of course, Johnny, our screener's a little shy, very, very quiet, very reserved. Oh, no, that's the anti-Johnny. That's right, our Johnny. But if you meet people and you don't know what to say to them, 3 questions. You always remember 3 questions. And the basic questions, of course, what do you do, where you from, things like that. And also another tip, this is another tip that works real well for people like myself who are a little socially inept, is compliment the object, not the person. So what does that mean? So if Ahmad is a beautiful woman and I say, Ahmad, you're a beautiful woman, that would be complimenting the person.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Ahmad. And ladies, Ahmad is a good-looking guy. He is the best-looking producer on radio. I don't care what other people on other radio stations say. We got the best-looking producer on radio. But if Ahmad's a woman and I said, Ahmad, I really like those earrings. Those are very pretty. That can't be taken out of context. If I say, Ahmad, you're a pretty girl, that's not appropriate, perhaps. But if I say those are pretty earrings, they say, oh, thank you. Where'd you get them from? Oh, and Ahmad will go into this long diatribe story. But suddenly, now the barriers are broken down. So, to interact with people socially, 3 questions, and compliment the object, not the person. That's a great dress. Those are great earrings. The less personal, the better. And then you'll see how the barriers break down for everyone. It's amazing. It works every single time. And when I teach people this, it's funny because I'll say that to someone, and I'll say, those are great earrings. And even though they know we're in a class talking about how to deal with social interactions, they'll light up. And they'll go, oh, thank you. And it's wild to say, but it really is amazing because people like to hear about themselves and people like to be complimented. So that's some great little tools that you can use to help yourself get into more social interactions. But again, don't ever compliment the person, compliment the object. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air, in case you ever have to reach us for some reason. Follow me on Facebook, by the way. Follow me on Instagram because we send out lots of good information. On the website, send me your email address. I'm more than happy to put you on my email list. We send out little newsletters, real short. I know everybody's got attention deficit disorder, but we'll put together real short articles that you can read, real simple stuff. But the number here at the studio, 844-44-Dr. Joe. So we're talking now about how to break anxiety. Because anxiety oftentimes leads to social problems, loneliness and social isolation. Aside from things like pain, of course, as a chiropractor and a pain management doctor, we do a lot of work with pain. So people in pain don't want to get out or they can't get out, physically can't get out. They're tired all the time. Could be your adrenal glands not producing adrenaline. You're not drinking enough water. You're not getting the proper nutrients into your body. That's probably the biggest one of all. Because in today's environment, the soil is depleted of nutrients. People aren't getting outside, getting sunlight like they should. That's why, at least, if you do nothing else, take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Those are on my website. They're supplements, drjoeesposito.com. Also available on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, make it easy for you. Ship it right out to you. And take them for a month. They're 2 powders. They taste great. Mix them up with coconut milk or almond milk. I don't do dairy. That's why I always say that. And notice, do it for every day for a month. It literally takes you a minute to do. And watch what happens. And I think you'll be very pleased, like almost everyone is. So, as far as breaking anxiety and getting your energy levels back so you have the power to get out and break this loneliness and social isolation, is sleeping consistently. Interrupted sleep can be a recipe for anxiety and a recipe for health disaster. So trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, simply having shift sleeping cycles, it can worsen mild anxiety and lower your stress response, which means you produce more cortisol and you're more likely to get sick. Aim for regular sleep. And also regular wake-up cycles. That's important, too. So if you wake up, and this is tough if you do swing shift. I know. I mean, being in radio, it's a tough call. And being in entertainment, I've known people in TV as well, and sometimes you got to get up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's a challenge. So it's hard to do that, but try to get some consistency. Consider cutting off your electronics at least an hour before going to bed, because even just having electronics in the room, it puts off what's called electromagnetic frequencies, which can actually affect your sleep. So if you have a phone, if you have to have your phone in your room, if it's your alarm clock, put it far away from your bed. Every inch you put it away from your head, the less likely you're going to have electromagnetic frequency problems. And if you're still having trouble, try getting all the electronics out of the bedroom and watch what happens. That goes for computers as well. So if you like to sit on your laptop before you go to bed, shut the laptop down. Don't just log out. Shut it down. Shut it off. And that would help tremendously as far as that goes. There's certain natural remedies that might work. Magnesium oil, you could rub it on your skin. Or take magnesium. Be careful with taking magnesium because too much magnesium can give you diarrhea. That's what they make milk of magnesia out of. Oh, that's where that word comes from. But a magnesium supplement works. Lavender oil works. You can take supplements. That'll help. Lavender oil, you can just put it in a room. If you want to, some really good quality essential oil, that can help. You can even rub it on the bottom of your feet. Take some lavender oil, just put it on the bottom of your feet, and it gets absorbed immediately. This is a cool little trick. I do this sometimes in lectures if I want to just do something different. Your feet are so important. You have to take care of your feet because anything you put on your feet anything you put on your skin is going to get absorbed. But what I'll do is I'll get some peppermint oil, and I'll put it on the bottom of somebody's feet, and I'll say, "Let me know when you taste it in your mouth." And then I'll go on with my lecture. And usually within a minute or so, they go, "I taste it." It gets absorbed right up through your feet. So that's why cleanliness is so important. So when you shower, somebody asked me this the other day, do you wash your feet when you shower? And I said, absolutely. I scrub my feet. I use Castile soap, a natural soap that doesn't have any toxic chemicals in it. And yes, scrub your feet. Absolutely, because it's going to help tremendously. So, folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, 844-44 Dr. Joe. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. If you have questions, I don't get you on the air, send them me through my website, drjoeesposito.com. You can also Google Dr. Joe. That gets you to my website. You can order the supplements, the books, archive radio shows, videos. Great website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. I am so happy that you're here. Hopefully, if you're just tuning in, welcome. If you've been listening for a while, you're learning lots of good things. We're talking about loneliness and social isolation and how dangerous that is to your health. And sometimes you get caught in this cycle. You have pain, so you don't get out of the house. So you can't get out of the house, so you don't have social interaction. So the chemistry in your brain actually changes, so you don't want to get out. You kind of lose your desire to get out and socialize, and then the pain keeps you in the house, and then you say, why bother getting out? I'm feeling better, but and you get stuck. So it's really important that you get to the cause of all your healthcare problems, whether it's neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, acid reflux, heartburn. My team of chiropractors that I work with, we're always looking to try to get to the cause of the patient's pain. Most patients listen to us. Every now and then, a patient knows more than we do. And we'll give them a few treatments, and they feel great. And they say, Doc, you guys are miracle workers. And we say, but you're not fixed yet. You got rid of the pain, but we still have to do the structural changes in the body. And they, I'm not going to do that. I just came in for the pain. And inevitably, they come back in. It costs them more money. It takes more time. There's more degeneration in the spine. So if you come in as a patient, number one, if you make an appointment, make sure you're ready to make some changes. And make sure you show up, too, by the way. I hate when people don't show up. It ruins everybody's schedule. But the reason I say that is because we don't want people who aren't willing to do something to try to get well. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, lots of great information on the website, drjoeesposito.com. listen to radio shows, watch videos of my lectures, send me questions if you have them, sign up for my newsletter, just send me your email address. We'll put you on a newsletter list, and we'll give you the tools that you need to get well and stay well. Karen, how can we make your day better?
I want to make your day better because I just have to tell you, all these years time I've been listening to you, I just love you. You just affirm everything that I have been trying to teach people for decades to stay alive myself and to help them stay alive, my customers, and just as a ministry. But you know how it is. People call you witch doctor and freak and everything, but you are so right. And everybody out there listening, do what he says.
Oh, Karen, all women should think like you. That's going to be my goal next year. All women should think like Karen. I'm very flattered. Thank you so much, Karen. I do appreciate your kind words.
Okay.
Have a great day. See, now I'm all blushing now. See, am I blushing? Am I? Do I turn a little red?
You're a little rosy.
Little rosy there. See, Karen's great. We want all our listeners to be thinking like Karen there.
Yes.
And folks, Karen's right. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but Karen's right. The information we give you is really things that you need to get well and stay well, and no one has ever taught you these things. We teach you math and science and geography, but nobody teaches you how to take care of yourself, how to make a living, and how to have relationships. Those are the three things we're not taught in any school, and those are the three things all of us, no matter what we do in our lives, have to deal with. We have to deal with relationships, not necessarily romantic relationships, but working relationships. Maybe it's your church. Maybe it's a social group that you're a member of, your family. And if you're healthy, you're more capable of dealing with these issues. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, something's wrong. Those are warning signs telling you that something's wrong. And don't ignore them because they will get worse. They'll escalate, become more and more of an issue, and then, like I said, you may have social isolation or loneliness because you're not able to deal with people, or you just don't want to. You become that grumpy old man. I'm sick all the time. I don't like people. And that becomes a real serious health issue. So I want to give you the things that you need to do and utilize them every single day. So a couple more things I want to talk about. I don't want to run out of time. And if we do run out of time, by the way, you can always send me questions through my website, drjoeesposito.com. More than happy to answer them for you. Tell your friends about the shows, too. Let them listen to the shows, when it's on the air in your area, because this show is heard coast to coast and around the world. It is the #1 health and wellness radio show in the world. Well, in the country, at least, probably in the world. So make sure people tune in and make sure you tell them about it because that's a gift in itself. And you're showing your gratitude for having this person in your life by saying, here's something that'll help. And many times people won't listen to you, but they'll listen to me. All day, I get calls from doctors, chiropractors, medical doctors all around the country, all around the world saying, thank you for your show. Because my patients wouldn't do what I told them, but when they started listening to your show, they're doing what I told them because you're telling them the same thing. So it's really a great gift to give away. All right, a couple more things we can deal with if we have anxiety. Manage your hormones. Hormone shifts can worsen anxiety. Cortisol is a hormone that's produced in your adrenal glands, and it's your stress hormone. And when you shift your hormones around, it can increase the cortisol, which can lead to things like panic attacks and irritability. Couple things you want to do. Make sure you're getting the proper nutrients. Make sure you're getting the proper omega-3 fatty acids. Along with Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, I also take a vitamin D3 supplement, about 5,000 international units a day, especially when it's not summertime, when I'm not outside as much. I also take an omega-3 fatty acid. I take algae oil because I'm a vegan. I don't eat animal products. But the algae oil is the omega-3 fatty acids in the form that we need called DHA and EPA. You can get omega-3s from plants. I mean, lettuces have omega-3s in it. Almonds have omega-3s. Macadamia nuts have omega-3s. Chia seeds. But it's in a form that our body has to convert from an ALA form to a DHA and an EPA form. And so I do algae oil. You can do fish oil, which I don't recommend because chances are it has mercury in it. If you're going to do fish, make sure it's certified mercury-free. Those ones are okay. You can do krill oil, which is in a phospholipid form, which is easier to absorb than the fish oil, a little more expensive. And then the algae oil is the most expensive, but I feel it's the cleanest. So even if I did eat animal products, I probably still wouldn't do fish or krill. I would probably do the algae oil. But hormone issues are a big thing, and one of the major hormone producers in your body is your adrenal glands. and the adrenal glands have to be taken care of. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee, if you're under a lot of stress, you're not drinking enough water, your bowels aren't moving properly, you have pain, this puts stress on the adrenal glands, and that can be a problem. And that's why I recommend supplements. Even though I eat a really good diet, I take supplements every single day. I take Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which, by the way, everybody should be taking, I feel. And those are on my website, drjoeesposito.com, also available on Amazon if you have an Amazon account. But that's the minimum amount. And then you eat something raw at every meal. You try to eat at least one plant-based meal a day, totally plants, totally vegetables. And now you're starting to take control of your own health. That'll help lower your cortisol, and that'll help you get well and stay well. Folks, the music means the show's coming to an end. If you missed it, you missed an amazing show. It's going to be on my website with hundreds of hours of other shows, drjoeesposito.com. We videotape my live lectures. They're on the website. Send me questions through the website. You can order the supplements, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, because of you, we're the #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, folks, thanks so much for listening. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time.